Welcome to the Mightiest Warriors podcast, where we talk with people like you and I who've gone through the forge. Through their humbling and heroic stories, we break down what's vital and essential so we can all be nourished and supported through our shared experience. This episode of The Mightiest Warriors is sponsored by Essential Provisions, a whole food, nutrition, sports, and performance company dedicated to nourishing the warrior in each of us. And it is my great pleasure to introduce Potter Wonderland. And Potter, I'm just going to read a little bit about you from the Google AI Gemini. There's a lot of information about you out there. But Potter is a climber, rock climber, known for establishing new routes, particularly in Joshua Tree and Tuolumne, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Potter. And he's also known for his nomadic lifestyle, often referred to as the Dirtbag climber. And we'll explore some of these themes. Joshua has just had amazing experiences rock climbing, in addition to some of the new routes that he has discovered and explored in Joshua Tree and other places. I've been just very impressed in the short time that I've known you, Potter, and your generosity and spirit for sharing, really opening to the world what it's like to be out there in these pristine, beautiful places, really creating community for the climber world, for the nomad community, and also an advocate for Essential Provisions. Potter's been generous enough to try our products, and he's the warrior that we are looking to nourish. So Potter, great to be with you, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's awesome to be here.
Let's just start, Potter, by getting a sense of your background, where you grew up and what kind of inspired you and motivated you to get into rock climbing.
Yeah, totally. It's a long, wild story. I'm originally from Kansas, so I didn't really know rock climbing existed for most of my life. I moved to California about 6, 7, or actually 8 years ago. I moved out with a friend that I went to high school with. And I basically moved to California to do like through hiking, so like the PCT or basically just long hikes. I wanted to be out in nature as Kansas doesn't have a lot of nature. And I, was really inspired on just like kind of switching up my life as I was pretty unhappy, most of my life and growing up in Kansas. It just wasn't for me. So I moved to California to try to find something new. And I was basically watching a documentary on the PCT, and Amazon Prime, auto played the next movie, and it was Valley Uprising. And I'm like, what is this? What is rock? Whoa. Like, I've never heard of this before. Right. So, it's actually funny. I like could not take my eyes off of it. And like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, where's the closest climbing area to me? And it happened to be Joshua Tree. I moved to Long Beach originally. So literally that night, I kind of just stopped everything I was doing and packed my bag and drove to Joshua Tree the next morning. And it's funny looking back at it, I was like scrambling around and like hiking boots, and I'm like, oh, I'm a climber and all this stuff. But it was really the whole way that I started really kind of inspired my Adventure Alive tour and everything like that. Because I went there and just camped alone, and I woke up after the first day of being there, and there was a group of climbers at my campsite, and they were going to climb the rock that was like, coming out of my campsite. And I'm just like, oh my God, can I please watch? I came here to learn how to climb, and, I'd love if I could just watch what you're doing. And they're like, watch, like, here's a harness and go try it. So, I tried it that day, and was instantly hooked. I was pretty scared. I think I tried like 3 different routes before I finally made it to the top, and I kind of told myself like, all right, I'm not leaving Joshua Tree until I get up a rock climb, like an actual route. And I finally made it up one, I think like my third try, and I was just like, this is what I've been searching for my entire life. Like the feeling I had inside, the feeling I had while climbing, the quietness in my mind while I'm up there. It's just everything I had been looking for. And so basically, after that, I quit my job and I haven't worked since. It's been about 6 years now. And I moved into my Cadillac at the time. And yeah, I lived in the front seat of the Cadillac for about a year and a half. And I lived off $277 a month during that time.
Wow. So I'm just trying to imagine from Kansas to Joshua Tree. And it sounds like you have this epiphany once you're actually on the rock and moving up and love it first experience, it sounds like.
Yeah, totally. Like my mind kind of runs a lot and it just thinks a lot. And when I'm climbing, I'm just in that moment and it's just me, Mother Nature, and the rock. And that's like, I just love it. And it really taught me to slow down and really be able to like find my happiness, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I now understand your Instagram name, the Cadillac Dirtbag.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
that's
there you were. And
yeah. Yeah, my first year, I'd run into people and they're like, "Oh, you're that guy living on the side of the road in a Cadillac." And I'm like, "That's me, the Cadillac Dirtbag." So I kind of was like known as that for a little while. And yeah, when I got social media, I was like, "Oh, what a great name for that."
so at any point, did you get like professional instruction, or you just embraced this and it became a process of self-development and
So
trial by error? What was that experience like for you?
so I did it's really interesting. Most people start indoors, especially nowadays. Which when I started climbing, I actually didn't know indoor climbing existed. So it's kind of funny. I actually went to Camp 4 in Yosemite. After I quit my job, I was only in Joshua Tree for about a week or maybe 2. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to Yosemite. I don't care if I climb anything at all. I just want to look at El Cap and become inspired. And so I went to Yosemite, went to Camp 4, um, was laying there one night listening to somebody play guitar. And it turned out that that man ended up becoming my mentor. He was a old school Yosemite dirtbag. His name's Cliff. And, he taught me all the ways, the ranger training, where to sleep, when to come out, how to save as much money as you can. So he didn't only just teach me how to climb, he also taught me how to dirtbag, which I'm forever grateful for. But, it's really interesting. My real first climbing season ever was in Tuolumne Meadows. The first route I ever climbed, the third pitch was completely unprotected. And, I followed Cliff through a lot of this like pretty scary, dangerous climbing. And I got hooked on it, basically. And so he pretty much like has made me who I am today as the climber and the dirtbag. And yeah, without him, I probably wouldn't be here. I've had a couple close calls because I did teach myself how to climb. I just read books. I didn't pay anybody to teach me. I didn't, YouTube anything. I just like read, mountaineering, Freedom of the Hills, and like watched Valley Uprising and was like, I'm gonna give it a try because this is what I need in my life. So I definitely had some close calls like early in my career that still to this day I'm like, I don't really think I should be here, but the universe, I really believe in the universe and that certain things are supposed to be. And So I just basically was like, you know what, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like the universe, she's teaching me lessons and she's teaching me how to do this, but in a way that only I will understand, if that makes sense. And so it was a long beginning for me. For about a year, I climbed, like my first year of climbing, I basically just climbed with Cliff and my best friend River. And when I was with River, I would be up there and I'd just be like, all right, River, like, yeah, like if I fall, man, you got to run back, take all this. Like I was just like putting myself in it. And, when I look back at it today, I'm kind of like, you know, a little reckless, but I can thank my mentor for all of that because he really inspired me on like the old school climbing and the bold climbing and just adventure climbing. I've never really been big into grades or like how hard I can climb. It's more of like the experience I get and how the day goes. I don't care if I ever become the strongest climber ever, as long as I'm happy every day. And I can thank Cliff for that, where I feel like if I would have learned indoors, I might be more focused on like the physical side of climbing and like the strength side of it, and I might lose the love for adventure. So I'm really grateful for him and how I started and all of the time he took to really show me how to be a Yosemite dirtbag.
Well, that's beautiful, Potter. And like you, I'm a firm believer in the cosmos speaking to us, giving us feedback, particularly when we're on a path that is largely motivated by our passion. And isn't it interesting how what we need emerges on that passion pursuit? So there's right, Cliff, and it's ironic to me that your rock climbing mentor's name is Cliff.
I know.
Uh, and it the people we need, as we look back, I find as I look back on my life, certain people at certain critical times change the timeline you're on. And it sounds like Cliff was one of these people who emerged to help you do just that. That's great. Is he still connected to your life, um, or have you sort of moved on in that relationship?
No, yeah, no, he's definitely still in my life. I drive by him all the time. We do climb a little less nowadays. Like I said, he's a older Yosemite dirtbag, so he is doing a little different things than I. But yeah, I do agree. Like it was. I feel very lucky that all of these things came together where I'm just like, I want to become a climber. And then, the universe is like, boom, here's this, boom, here's that, boom, here's this. And I'm just like, how did this happen? And, 6 years later now, I'm still things are happening like that, where it's just like, I don't know how this is happening, but it is. And it's the universe. I've learned that she's always taking care of me. And yeah, it's really special. And as we were kind of talking about previously, it's just hard to put into words like the belonging and everything that I feel in this lifestyle. And like, I don't know, it's really hard to put into words, but I just feel so lucky that all of these things are coming together, and I just feel like I belong. So and like I said, just what I'd been looking for my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, I completely get that, Potter. And um, it. I often refer to these as the universe gives us feedback as synchronicities in physics. If you get into the rabbit hole of quantum physics, you begin to see that reality has a structure, it's not this void, blank, meaningless space with objects just sort of all around us. It has a very thoughtful and intelligent and conscious structure. And so much of what you describe affirms that as we bring our consciousness, our passion, into the reality that we're experiencing, the extent to which that is aligned results in things happening, what we might call them good luck, or geez, what an amazing coincidence. I think there's something so much more transcendent, as you say. It's hard to put words to it, but that for me, these stories become spiritual because they do take us beyond this sort of mundane reality of the physical world and the material. And what you described is so much beyond that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, it feels like as I've followed my happiness more, the universe looks after me more almost. It's almost like she rewards me. It's really interesting where like, I haven't worked for 6 years. Like, I lived off or I had coffee my first year in the Cadillac. I had coffee for breakfast, coffee and gum, I guess, for breakfast, peanut butter and jelly for lunch, and a cold chef Boyardee for dinner. I didn't want to waste any money on propane. I didn't want to cook. I just wanted to eat everything as little as I could. And, I was like, I'm never going to work again. And I just was like, if I run out of money, I run out of money, or whatever. If I starve to death, whatever. If I die up here on the rock, whatever. At least I'm following my happiness. And the universe, it seems like she is basically just like, oh, well, here's food, and here's sponsorships, and here's this. Keep following your happiness. And it's just like, it's so easy not to worry anymore, which is like an odd thing to say in the current state of the world. But it's just like, it's the universe really seems to be taking care of me the more that I follow my happiness, and it's incredible. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah, I mean that is just so amazing that you've have gotten to that point. I mean, I practiced medicine, Potter, for many years, and you meet lots of people from all walks of life, and I would say the majority of people that I've met along the way have never really discovered that level of passion that you described. That sort of, I hate to use the word oneness because it does have that sort of new age connotation, but when the separation between the subject, the observer, and the world that they're observing disappears, that's where the passion unfolds, and where we do tend to be given what we need to continue on that path. And
Mhm.
so it's really remarkable what you share, and just the courage. Where that, I mean, so many people would say, geez, I could never do that. I couldn't afford, I wouldn't survive. I'm struck with what you seem to have a strong belief that if you just kept moving forward, things would continue to happen for you. And that indeed has been your journey thus far.
Yeah, and that's, that plays into my my quit your job campaign and my adventure alive campaign. And I get a lot of people who reach out to me, and they are like, oh, 1 second, I got a car behind me. Oh, sorry, I'm on a little forest road right here.
Yeah, that's okay.
But sorry about that. Okay, so yeah,
Beautiful.
so that's part of the reason, why I did the quit your job campaign and the adventure alive tour. And I get a lot of messages where I'm like, I would love to do what you're doing or something similar to it. I just don't think I can, or I don't, I couldn't do it to your extent. And I did get a lot of, flack for the quit your job thing, where they're like, oh, like all of us can't quit your job and this and that. And I'm like, I understand that. And, more so what I think we should all be focusing more on is our happiness. And like, taking fear, because fear is like I think we should all have a good relationship with fear. Like, fear shouldn't be bad. Like, when people are scared or in fear, we should be embracing that, I believe. And, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm afraid that I'm not going to like it. So what? You don't like it? Go try it. If you want to try it, go try it, And like, if like people are kind of, like, well, I could do it, but I want to work a little bit at the same time. And I'm like, do it, like, what is going to make you happy? I feel like a lot of people put their happiness to the side, and that's where the whole like quit your job campaign and the Adventure Alive tour came from, is because I just want to show people that, like, you don't have to live off $277 and eat cold chef Boyardee. Like, you don't have to, right? But you don't need to be afraid to try the things you want to try. And, I had no idea how long I was going to be doing this, or if I was going to die, or if I was going to not enjoy it and be like, oh, actually, I want to go hike the PCT. No, but I just followed what I thought was going to make me happy. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I want to do right now. And, I get that, like, everyone can't just do that. But I do believe, that like people should have a good relationship with fear. And if they're afraid to, quit their job and go see if they enjoy living in the woods for a season, or, it could be anything. It could literally be like cutting your hours in half so that way you're focusing on yourself more. Like, it doesn't matter, as long as you're not putting your happiness aside for someone else. That's one big reason I've never been interested in ever getting a job again. I've always been like, well, if I run out of money, I'll move to a cave and fish and that kind of stuff, which is like, a little ignorant, but whatever. To me, I'm just like, I want to continue following my happiness, and I'm not afraid of what happens in between. And so that's what the whole quit your job campaign is. And, you know, it really just means quit your job. Don't listen to the norms. Like, you don't have to do what people do. Like, when I lived in Kansas, I went to college. I was an EMT, security guard for a while. I was like doing the job thing. I was like getting a condo, being in relationships, like doing what society told me to do. And I wasn't happy until I was 24 years old, you know? And so, especially in today's age, I feel like it's hard for people to just pull the trigger and do what they want to do. And I personally believe everyone should just do what they want to do. And I get that it's not that easy. But in any way you can, you should really try to be as happy as you can be and do what you want to do, whether that means you have a little bit less money in life, or whether that means you're a little more hungry, or maybe you get hurt or something like that. But are you happy? And that's what really inspires me, is just happiness, and helping other people realize that they can do it too. On the other side of the messages I get are, hey man, I just quit my job and I'm so happy and thank you very much. Where it's like the yin yang of like, hey man, I can't do that, but like, I want to, how do I do it? It's just like, there's all these contrasts. And I think if everyone just kind of pushed their comfort level a little bit, and took those fears that they have of like, I don't, like, I want to take the summer off, but I'm not going to have money for the fall, right? Just like take those fears and put them to the side and be like, what's going to make you happy, and follow that. And I promise the universe, she will look after you. And that's what I've been learning. And that is why I push the Adventure Alive tour and the Quit Your Job campaign.
I mean, that is such a powerful and inspiring message, Potter. I fear. I think of fear as the opposite of love. Um, the anything that creates a wall, an obstacle between uh, who we are and who we would like to be, uh, is just so often accompanied by levels of fear that leave people unable to move beyond it. And um, it I find often it's our beliefs. We hold on to certain beliefs as if they're true, right? And in my own life, uh, I was a kidney specialist. I did what doctors do. I had a lot of training, but I wasn't real happy with my work. My wife Leanne and I had a son, Alex, who's now 32. Alex had Down syndrome
Mm.
and had a few health problems, and it motivated me at that time in my life to totally pivot,
Yeah.
to jump, to get into the free fall without a plan,
Yeah.
but somehow truly believing in my heart that I would land on my feet. And that's exactly what happened in my own life, Potter. And as I look back, the last 25 plus years, I would have never predicted getting me. I wrote a couple books. I started to get into nutrition more and things that doctors are never taught. Mind body skills. More time communing with nature, and everything in my life changed when I began to question the beliefs that ultimately I would come to realize, many of which were not true.
Yeah.
And as a consequence, they weren't serving me. They were leading to behaviors that weren't able to serve me in a satisfactory way.
Yeah.
And for so many of us, we just continue with that and live a life that may result in a decent income and a title and whatever material we want to hang on to, and yet there's very little deep satisfaction there. And so I just really love what you're doing and how you sort of met that head on. To me it feels very spiritual and very sort of philosophical, and to inspire others to sort of rethink where they're at in their lives in a way that made them able to sort of jump.
Right.
And to know that the parachute will open or they'll land on their feet.
Exactly.
And
Or if you
wow,
don't, you'll still be okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that relationship with fear I just love how you framed that. So in the quit your job and in your sort of Adventureland activities, I know that sort of building a community that's inspired by this is very much an additional passion of yours. What's that community like today, Potter?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Like growing up, I didn't have social media at all. And I climbed for about, I think, 3 years before I actually did get social media. And so I'm also I have like social anxiety, and I just it's hard. I don't know. It's hard for me to be social, which is interesting because I'm quite social online, and stuff like that. It's just interesting how I got into it. But I keep kind of getting into is, I was just so unhappy for so long. I was like my living in Kansas from, when I was born to 24 or whatever, however old I was, 22. Um, you know, I I was kind of just like going through the motions, and I was just so unhappy that I didn't really ever I didn't ever know happiness really existed, until I was about 24 years old. And I just it changed my life so much to find happiness that I was like, any way that I can, I just want to let like help people find their happiness, because I couldn't find mine for a very long time. And even still to this day, like myself and happiness are like, we're always butting heads, right? Where I'm like, oh, I kind of want to do this. And happiness is like, no, you don't. You want to do this. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. It's like, I don't know. But like, basically what inspired me to get into, creating a community around this was to pass along the information that, like, look, dude, some kid from Kansas with mental health, like, he followed his happiness, and you can do it too. And it built I don't even remember how or when my Instagram started going. I mean, I'm not like super popular. I only have like 7,000 followers or something like that. But they're all very loyal, which I love. Like, like I said, I get a lot of messages from people who are like, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know, I quit my job last week, and I'm moving into my car, and I'm doing this, and you're a big inspiration." Or, "Hey, I'm, I can't really do what you do, but you've inspired me to, take the summer off," or something like that. And I just want to let you know, it made me feel really good. And like, since it was so hard for me to find happiness, and like I didn't even realize happiness was a thing, that was really what inspired me to be like, look, people, you could be happy. Like, I get society and like the norms want you to do all this stuff, and like I get that sometimes you have to do what you have to do to like pay rent or whatever. You might have a lease or whatever. You might be in the middle of something. You might have a sick family member that you need to take care of or something. But don't forget to take care of yourself, because like, it was just so hard for me to find happiness. That's all I want to show people, is that like, you can be happy doing whatever you want. And it could be living off $277 a month, or it could be like going bouldering on the weekend, or it could be like going to a sports game, or it could be like going to dinner. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be outside. It doesn't have to be an adventure. It just, like, follow your happiness. And that's what inspired me to create a community. And that is why I keep continuing on with the community, because, to be honest, it does feel weird after my first 3 years of climbing without social media, where now I'm like, oh, okay, today I'm going to go like shoot photos, right? It's like, it's not really why I climb. But it does keep me going, right? So it is, an interesting line with me with the social media and the community and like my happiness. But I make sure, because I can help inspire other people to go find their happiness, it's a small price for me to pay to, like, create some content and stuff like that, and post and talk to people and that kind of stuff. Even though, I am a little socially awkward, and I don't know exactly what to say, and I just kind of ramble, which, like, you'll probably see in this podcast. But you know, I do really appreciate my community, and I've had a lot of ups and downs with them, and I went through some burnouts where I'm like, I think I'm gonna retire, and I got like so many messages and so many comments, and they're just like, dude, you can't. And I'm like, you guys are right, and so, like, I owe as much to them, you know, for keeping me where I am and keeping me in line for when I get burnout and stuff like that too. And I I get people. I sell quit your job stickers, and people will send me pictures. They like put quit your job stickers on like their boss's computer and stuff, and I'm just like, I love humans. Like, you guys are so amazing. And so it's really I'd say my community is all over the place, but I think the main thing is, we're really tight, and like, I'm not gonna lie to you, and I'm gonna be straight up with you, and I think they know that, and yeah, I think that's why, my community is not very big, but we're pretty tight. I love that.
Yeah, it sounds like just a loyal tribe, and people can see authenticity a mile away. You just ooze it, Potter, and you're in flow state in this podcast, by the way, just as I know you are when you're climbing a steep vertical.
Yeah.
So much of what you describe, Potter, as a clinical guy, a science guy, everything you describe can be directly connected to so many health promoting attributes,
Hmm.
including mental health, right? I mean, what you describe is infinitely more effective than Prozac or Zoloft or, you know,
Right.
Lexapro. And, it people in modern life, I'm always struck by the statistic that the average American spends more than 95% of their time indoors. 95%
That's pretty crazy.
indoors. And when they're outdoors, they're, walking to their car or they're walking to the subway, kind of full speed ahead, very limited peripheral vision.
Yeah.
And
Understandable.
that is the current state. I often think that we're a species with amnesia. We've sort of forgotten where we've come from. And when I look at your life and when I hear you talk about what you do, I realize that you haven't forgotten where you've come from. I'm,
Yeah.
that is what is deep inside of us. Um, Struggles to manifest, and you have found ways to completely unleash it. And I can imagine many people who are stuck in their jobs or in their relationships or in these beliefs that I'm not good enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not popular enough. Uh, ex- your story is exactly what they need to hear and to contemplate. So that what a great service.
Yeah, and I think that all kind of plays back into fear, right? Where my first 24 years of life, fear and I did not have a good relationship, right? Like fear was scary. Fear was not a emotion that I embraced. Where once I kind of switched that and fear and I had a better relationship, then fear wasn't scary. It was just this emotion that I felt and that I got through. And I really do think that's what holds everyone back from doing what they want or what they need to do for themselves is fear. And it could be small fear, it could be big fear, it could be I don't want to die, or it could be I don't want to run out of money, or it could be I don't want my car to break down. It could be anything, right? And so I think
No
that
question.
yeah, that's just a big first step that I took was just seeing fear as not a bad emotion and more so like an emotion it's driving me a particular way, and like listening to fear and embracing it. Like I do a lot of free solo climbing, and I do a lot of like tuolumne. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with the climbing in tuolumne, but it's pretty run out and scary. You can get very hurt or die on a lot of routes here. And when I'm up on the wall, in these situations, typically not free soloing. When I'm free soloing, I'm typically like just in bliss. But like, if I'm on a run out or something like that, I fear is there, right? Like I feel fear. I feel the situation, but instead of, taking it negatively and letting it run me, I just embrace it and feel it. And I'm like, this is fear. This is what fear feels like. And, one of my main things is I always kind of lean into the wall and shut my eyes and I whisper, I'm here because I want to be. And that just like reminds me, like no one forced me to come up here. Like I am here because I want to be. This fear is a normal reaction. It is, I should be feeling it. Everyone in this situation would be feeling it. But instead of letting fear win, I just embrace it and let myself feel the emotion. And climbing has helped me deal with that in normal life where growing up, I've mentioned I wasn't very happy and I didn't know who I was or anything like that. I was looking for myself, searching for myself. And once I just kind of started letting all my emotions go and let it just be, I sort of found myself. And the fear aspect and becoming friends with fear was very big in my life, very big for me. And I think it would do a lot for a lot of other people as well. And just like, I think fear it should not be a negative emotion. I think it should be a positive one. And, you know, I think that'll help a lot of people. Because they just
That's an
just don't look at it that
epiphany.
way. And my first
Yeah.
34 years of life, I didn't look at it that way. There was no way that fear could not be a negative emotion, right? Like there was no way. And it's hard to explain how it can be a good emotion, but once you start, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean that's just such an epiphany what you described, Potter. And I love that. I love that sort of silent self-talk of I'm here because I want to be
Hmm.
in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, because it's all aligned
Exactly.
with what your soul is more deeply passionate about, and that alignment has a way of um, the way that you describe fear. Fear is an energetic state that really are opportunities for us to understand more about where our mindset is at.
Exactly.
Many things that I've been fearful about in my life, I get to the point where I would ask myself, what do you have to believe to be true in order to be experiencing the fear that you're currently experiencing?
Yep.
And when I begin to kind of pull the veil on those belief patterns, they're all like, oh, you're not good enough, or you're not skilled enough, or uh, right, you're going to fall and not be able to get up. People are going to think you're crazy, blah, 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 right? Whatever those beliefs are. And so I think as, as people begin to recognize fear as an invitation to explore their patterns of beliefs, most of which are more illusory than they are true, it really does unleash or liberate possibility that might otherwise never manifest. And your story is such a beautiful uh, expression of that and how that manifests. And so I've looked at some of your photography. It's just breathtaking, Potter. Where can people uh, access your photography and some of your stories? What are your social media connections that people can look at if interested?
Yeah, I mean, right now I really just have Instagram and Patreon. On Instagram, I post, what I'm up to, and then I also post all my Adventure Alive tour stuff on there. Um, Most of my photography is, I take a lot myself, but I do also, a lot of friends come out and shoot me as well, which is really nice. It's kind of funny, like with my sponsors that pay me, I'm kind of like, well, I feel like we should be paying a photographer less than me because it's like, I'm not really that, but I do post all my stories and stuff on Instagram. And then on Patreon, I have more of like detailed beta, basically like where you can camp for free, stuff that I don't really like just blast all over the internet. I put on Patreon more like detailed stuff like that, and then kind of just like behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, it's really just Instagram and Patreon right now.
So if they Google Potter Wonderland, they'll get links to those sites. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I believe so. My Instagram is at the Cadillac Dirtbag 6, and I have like a little link tree thing in my bio that you can click, and it'll take you to like my Patreon's on there. So
Great, excellent, and it um, I don't know as you contemplate, Potter, the what's to come, but are there any climbs that you dream about that are on your sort of bucket list that you haven't yet taken on, or do you just kind of navigate as the spirit moves you wherever you may be?
yeah, I mean that's you should see my to-do list, honestly. It's it's a long one, but I am, as I mentioned earlier, I don't really have any like hard climbing goals. I've never really cared too much about how hard people climb or how hard I climb. I've always cared more about the adventure. So I personally really like first descenting. I like to be the first person there, and just kind of find the path of least resistance and be the first person to, be there and unlock this cliff. I remember, I was just in Bernal, Mexico, just this past winter, putting up some roots ground up on La Peña, which is the third largest monolith in the world. And, there's one route that I was putting up ground up, which I'm not too sure if you know what ground up means. Basically, you stand at the base of cliff with a drill on your shoulder and all your gear on you, and you basically just go up the cliff, and you have to, if you can't place your own protection, you have to drill bolts to protect certain moves and stuff like that, while you're on the climb. And it's very adventurous and like what I live for. Like, I absolutely love that kind of climbing. And there's one instance where I was putting up a route ground up in Bernal. It's named Pachamama, and it's a multi-pitch, but this was the first pitch. And I remember I had just walked around La Peña the day before, a couple days before, just scouting areas and seeing what lines I wanted to do first. And I had found this line, and there's a group of, indigenous who have lived there their whole life, and they're like clearing the path for like future climbers to come and stand and belay and start to climb from, while I'm like on the cliff, hanging from a hook and putting in a bolt. And like, I'm like, we are just opening this area to people. And it's like this incredible experience. And, I remember like that route in particular was, I think it ended up being like 510C, that pitch, which is like, I'm not like the strongest climber in the world. So like putting up 510Cs, like while holding on and like, or hanging from a hook, or there was one move I couldn't hang from a hook and had to, hold and drill at the same time from a stance. And, it's like, it was pretty, for me, like very exciting. And, I was like, I had been transformed basically. And when I got to the ground, like the mother of the tribe was down there, and she was just like, I don't speak very good Spanish for someone who spends as much time in Mexico as I do. And so we were kind of speaking broken language back and forth, but I also have this stomach issue. And I got down, and she was like, your stomach hurts, and I'm like, yeah, it does. And she gave me this root, and I just trusted her in the universe and ate it. And it's Aztec gold root, Chicawe, I think it's pronounced. And it basically like helped fix my stomach. I mean, I still take it to this day. And it was just this incredible experience to me where no one had ever been here before. Like, they were clearing this, I was climbing this. No one had ever been there before. I come down, talk to this lady who has no idea who I am. She knew my stomach hurt. She gave me this thing. Like, I named the route Pachamama for Mother Nature, Mother Earth. And it's just like, we are so connected with everything. So with everything on the earth, on like the planet, like you said, 95%, people spend 95% of their life indoors. That is like insane to me, because like, we are so connected to all of this that like, once you get out here, you'll feel it. And that is my inspiration. That is like what, like, I don't care if I climb 515, the hardest climbing in the world. I could be a 511, 512 climber for the rest of my life. As long as I am in nature, as long as I am breathing in this air every day, as long as I am following my happiness, that is what inspires me. And so, you ask like, are there any particular climbs? Not really. It really is just like, I just want to adventure all the time. I just want to be out here. I want to be smiling. I just want to feel the intimacy that I feel while living in this minivan, like the intimacy I feel living in this minivan, stepping out, looking outside, going climbing every day, you know, like this is where I'm having this podcast from. Like no one's inside here, you know. It's all, everything's an adventure, and that's what really inspires me. And so that is where, yes, my to-do list has probably 3,000 rock climbs on it, like with names and grades and all that kind of stuff. But if I ever get to them, I don't care, as long as each day I'm having an adventure. And that typically is just something new. I love doing new things, whether it's in areas I've been, as long as it's a different climb or a different ridge or a different hike or a different meal. Like I just love new things, and new adventures and stuff like that. But that's my biggest inspiration. However, if I had to choose one thing, I really, really, really want to move to Wadi Rum, Jordan, and put up roots in Wadi Rum. That is like my big, big goal, and that I hope I get to do someday.
In Jordan.
Yeah, Wadi Rum, Jordan. Yeah.
Did I hear that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm. Awesome stories and inspiration, Potter. You have manifest and expressed so much of what I believe to be the secret sauce for so many people, and it's been such a pleasure to share a small piece of your journey over the last hour or so. And before we adjourn, Potter, I want to thank. I'm medical director of Essential Provisions. As I said, we're a whole foods nutrition company, and we make meals ready to eat. I think this is bison stew, which is one of my favorites. But our mission is to nourish the warriors, the quintessential warriors like yourself, Potter, and for the company, and Robin Gentry McGee, who's our CEO and founder, and the alchemist who creates these amazing foods. We all of us on the team have experienced these epiphanies, meeting fear head on, finding ways to reframe and recreate opportunity and possibility. And what you said about we're all connected, this illusion of separateness,
Yeah.
is so powerful. And you remind us that in no way reflects the true nature of who we are. And I can't thank you enough for that, Potter. You're an inspiring, amazing guy. And I'm so glad to know you, and I look forward to vicariously experiencing your adventures, and hopefully in person at some point we can meet and explore together.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah, I mean, not only is it great to not be eating cold Chef Boyardees, but yeah, it's amazing to be eating those. Like they're changing my life. But that wasn't the only reason. I enjoy partnering up with you. Like you said, you guys and myself, I feel like we are kind of on that same plane. Like we've gone through our journeys of unhappiness, and we've kind of found our happiness. And it really is a breath of fresh air to speak with you all. And sometimes when I say stuff like this, people are like, you are crazy, dude, like, or like that just doesn't make sense, or it's just like, it is a breath of fresh air to just kind of like say some things that I do think are a little bizarre, and you're just like, yeah, no, totally, I get that, and I'm like, oh, you do get it, I can see. And so, when I talk to you all at Essential, it really does just it is a bright part of my day for sure. And yeah, I love being part of the team, and I hope we get to adventure someday as well. That'd be great. And I'll be out here every day, so I'm sure we'll get
Awesome.
something.
Well, thank you, Potter, for your generous spirit and generosity for sharing. And I look forward to talking with you again, hopefully very soon.
Yeah, totally.
Be well, my friend.
Yeah, I'd love to chat anytime. Have a good one, Mark.